Let's break down the first half a little bit in detail. Lionel Messi got the goal 23 minutes into the game, scoring from the spot, taking him to 12 World Cup goals, bringing him level to Pele. Di Maria won the penalty kick, and a great inclusion, of course, having Di Maria in the starting 11. We were all questioning it in the pre-game show. A lot of people were talking about Di Maria. That's a bit of an interesting decision. Really silly from Dembele to make that challenge. It's almost as embarrassing to see him make that challenge. Lionel Messi became the first player to score in the round of 16 quarterfinal, semi-final, and final in a World Cup, a single edition of a World Cup, with that goal right there. And then Di Maria got his goal on the 36-minute mark, the assist from McAllister. This was probably one of the best World Cup goals I think I've ever seen. Team goals, the build-up play, the finish, the execution, and it was an outstanding performance, Michael, in the first 45 minutes from Argentina. They dominated. France did not have a single shot. Not a shot at all. Never mind on target. Not a shot in that first 45 minutes. So up to the halftime point, we thought, job well done. Scaloni's done amazing. His team were well up for it. In midfield, they were terrific, and they were taking their chances.
I think it's down to the defensive play in midfield. They crowded out the French midfield, and it's the back pressing of attacking players. You saw Lionel Messi getting in his own box to make tackles. When have you seen that before? Oh yeah, this World Cup, because he wanted it more. This team wanted it more. I think they got tired because of how much energy they were putting into this match. They were all over the field. I told you to keep an eye on Alexis McAllister before this game in the pregame show. His defensive work alongside Rodrigo de Paul, their ability to shift. Defensively, they went back in a 4-4-2, but it was their ability to shift defensively over to the right-hand side to crowd out numbers, to create overloads, box out Kylian Mbappe, box out entry passes in the likes of Mbappe, Giroud, frustrated France. France couldn't connect one or two passes to get out of their own half. As soon as they won the ball, they exposed how expansive the French team plays. Theo Hernandez likes to push really high. One diagonal pass frees up Di Maria, and it creates a 1v1 situation to isolate Jules Kounde. We've been saying it at this World Cup. Jules Kounde is not an outside back. He is a center back. He has played outside back at different levels. I think for this French team, he got exposed today going up against a true winger who was lights out. And as the game wore on, I credit Didier Deschamps with making the subs. That takes a lot of balls, balls in English, to make those sort of decisions.
Thanks
to
for spelling that out.
Thank you, man. We have different.
What was that word again? What was that word again? It was cojones!
Guts. You know, it's a family show, so I got to say it. But it takes a lot of guts to make that sort of decision. Take out your leading goal scorer of your national team, second leading goal scorer on the team, taking out Dembele, who was woeful, should have been taken out much earlier, and putting in younger players. I thought the difference for France and how they got back in the game, Coman was a big addition, was they got tighter. In the first half, they were letting Argentina dictate too much play. They were letting them have too much time. It looked like a training match, stroll in the park for the Argentines. As soon as France started getting physical, the second goal proved it. Get tight, body Lionel Messi. Get a body on him. It takes away this mystique about Argentina, and Argentina were rattled.
Good luck with that. Not until
exactly.
Yeah,
Ian, but to that point, I think it's totally true. I mean, you cannot have the best player in the history of football free, running around in the middle of the park, having space to turn. Every single time Lionel Messi had the chance of receiving the ball, turning around, and see him find Di Maria in 3 occasions. Another one, Julian Alvarez. The once again, it was a nightmare for the defense. I mean, having a player who is running behind you every single time, it must be crazy, because this kid has been running. I mean, when we saw them being replaced, I mean, he couldn't run for one more meter. It was amazing. Those 45 minutes, putting on under pressure the two center backs, putting under pressure the right backs, tracking back, going back to make falls in the middle of the park, not allowing this French side to try to build. And they knew very well that the important players were Griezmann. He's been the key player for this French team. He didn't receive one single ball free. McAllister was on him. Enzo was on him. Every single time the ball was going near him, he was also always with a man on him. And that's something that they did very well, the Argentinian team, not allowing the key player to turn around and build up. Of course, when you got Mbappe, you know that he can do it on his own. But it was just amazing. And once again, it was about the intensity, the desire. They wanted more. That's the best word. They wanted more. France was expecting, let's see how we do it. Let's see if we can do something. But Argentina, from the first minute, they wanted more.
And on top of that, on top of wanting it more, I think it was just another tactical masterclass, at least for the first 60 minutes, where not only did they deny Griezmann any ability, he was turning the ball over regularly, looked like he was out of the game. Then you had Rabiot struggling to find the ball and play through the midfield as well, which he's been one of the best in this World Cup at. He's been better than I've ever seen him at the club level. And then once the ball got to Mbappe, there was 3-4 players around him every single time, just not allowing him, forcing him to slow down, allow Argentina to get set up, get into good positions. And then at that moment, they couldn't figure out how to play quickly through it. When Messi got the ball, he knew when to speed the game up, slow it down. When Mbappe got the ball, no one could figure out how to be on the same page as him to be able to break those lines of press. And it was just a really impressive one. Obviously, there's another 100 minutes that went into the game that dictated in a different way. But when I just watched those first 60 minutes, it was just so brilliant. Every tactical area of the field from Argentina, and the fight and the desire. And it's the first time that I can remember Argentina having a team where they just accepted, this is our star, and everybody else is going to put their egos aside. There's always been maybe one more ego in the Argentina squad, a second ego or a third ego where, you know, just like France, where you have Giroud walking back, you have Mbappe walking back, you have Dembele, who struggled in the semis and the finals, walking back. And you can't have three players like that on the field where they're not being fully effective and think that you're going to be able to get out with the result. For Argentina, they were all on the same page for the first time in a long time, and you could see them get better and better every single match in this tournament, knowing what it was going to take, and to come out on top, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Heath, right there. When you talk about the team buying into whatever Scaloni was selling, you saw the celebrations there. We're actually trying to get Nigel involved in the show some way because he's smoking cigars somewhere on South Beach right now, apparently too busy for us. But, I mean, listen, it's absolutely a fantastic point right there because Argentina played for one another. They played for Messi. They played for Scaloni. The determination, the appetite in that midfield area, there was nowhere for France to go. Let's bring in Jonathan Johnson, of course, to the House of Champions. JJ, it's great to see you. And very disappointing from France. We're talking about that first 45 minutes performance, and actually you could probably stretch out to the first 80-minute performance from France today. They just kind of got it all wrong, and in the first 45 minutes in particular, not even a single shot on target from them. And Argentina outclassed them up until they got their goal.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think France can feel major regrets with, you know, the way that they performed for the majority of that first 80 minutes. I mean, I look at some of the things that happened, you know, some of the uncharacteristic. I mean, Didier Deschamps making 2 substitutions before halftime. That tells me that there were some major doubts over certain players before the game. And yeah, you know, we can point out, you know, that France were going through some illnesses and blah, blah before the match. You know, it did seem the fact that he was willing to take Giroud off before halftime suggests that perhaps that knock to the knee was more of a concern than we were allowed to believe. But, you know, you also just cannot, you know, really defend what some of the players put out on the pitch, certainly in that first half. You know, it was just, it was completely unrecognizable from the France team that we'd seen for the majority of the World Cup. You know, I think, you know, to allow Di Maria that much space, as Kounde did, was, you know, criminal. Theo Hernandez, everybody has known that he'd be, you know, France's weak point for the majority of this tournament. They've tried to get him at him as often as possible, and we saw why today. Yet, for France to be able to dig deep, and for, you know, the 2 guys who were thrown on, you know, it looked like, you know, a bit of madness from Deschamps at the time when he put Thuram and put Randal Kolo Muani on. But, you know, Kolo Muani wins the penalty. Thuram sets up Mbappe. That sends the game to extra time. Kolo Muani extremely unlucky late on, a fantastic save from Aston Villa's Emiliano Martinez to keep him out. You know, this game could have turned in so many different places. You know, the fact that I think France managed to make it go all the way to penalties is an achievement in itself. It shouldn't take away from, you know, what I think was a major no-show for the majority of the game. They will have to address that. I think part of that is also linked to the fact that France getting to the final, considering the way that they prepared for the tournament, everything that happened, probably felt like the achievement.